Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If you could all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, is there any public comment? Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll move on to verification of the posting of the agenda, please.
Pam Moore, for the record, the agenda was posted on August 28th between the hours of 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. at the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes, other than the state's website has been down because of the breach, so it wasn't able to be posted there.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Can I get an approval of that agenda as submitted?
Chair Ghetto, I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 6, consideration of possible action, approval of the minutes of the meeting held on July 3rd, 2025. Can I get a motion for those minutes, please?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to find that staff shortages in the clerk treasurer's office have caused a delay to the completion of the minutes, and make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting held on July 3rd, 2025 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Our first appointment, 7A, consideration of possible action, adoption of a joint proclamation between the City of Fallon and Churchill County declaring September 2025 as Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. Shannon?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Shannon Ernst, Churchill County Social Services. As you know, we have been working countless hours to build recognition of the resources that we do have and build additional supports. Last year, we did this, and it actually brought a group of community members together to recognize the loss they've had, really learn how there is support within our community. So through our priority groups for our suicide prevention plan, we actually decided this year to actually make it a little larger. And so they are closing down the street of Main Street, on the 12th. And this will kick off at 5 o'clock with the reading of the proclamation, if approved today. They will also do a ceremony dyeing of the fountain. They will have resources present, and they will do mindfulness activities. So we're very excited about this. So we hope this is approved, and we're asking that a commissioner join us on that day to read the proclamation with the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Chair Ghetto, I move to adopt the proclamation declaring September 2025 as Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month and to support education as presented.
Mr. Chairman, make a second of the motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Shannon. 7B, consideration possible action, adoption of a joint proclamation with Churchill County and the City of Fallon designating September 2025 as Library Sign-Up Month. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Chris Pross for the record. So libraries are constantly transforming and expanding services to meet the evolving needs of communities across Nevada. Librarians lead the way in creating inclusive spaces, both physical and digital, developing diverse collections for people of all backgrounds to connect and learn together. Libraries open a world of possibilities through resources and services to help people of all ages pursue their careers and passions. Libraries play an important role in the education and development of children and give students the tools to succeed in school and beyond, as well as bridging the digital divide by providing a full range of information and services to children and adults. Signing up for a library card is the first step towards positive community engagement and lifelong achievement. Therefore, the board is asked to adopt the joint proclamation encouraging our citizens to sign up for library services.
Thank you, Chris. Is there any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adopt the joint proclamation declaring September 2025 as Library Sign-Up Month as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We'll go ahead and get a picture.
Barrier.
Okay, we'll resume back to 7C, consideration possible action, approval of a sending site application TDR 25-1 filed by Mark Simoncini of Simoncini of Lonesome Duck Ranch LLC for property located at 7615, 7625, and 7925 Beach Road, APN number 006-871-04 and APN number 006-871-05, consisting of a total of 156 acres with 15.57 acres of water rights in the A10 zoning district, whereas the applicant proposes to record a conservation easement on the property. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Randy Hines, Public Works Planning and Building. These subject properties meet the minimum requirements set forth in Churchill County Code, Chapter 16.14. Based on the transfer development right calculations, the total TDRs for the property is 93. I wanted to note that this property is partly within the accident potential zone at the end of the base runway, and the Navy was opposed to any land division. Prior to this application, the applicant actually wanted to split that parcel into 10-acre parcels, and it was opposed by the Navy. The Sending Site Review Committee reviewed the application on July 27th and was presented to the Planning Commission on August 13th. Both recommended approval of the sending site and the TDRs. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the sending site application for Lonesome Dove Ranch LLC based on providing the community benefits of preserving 156 acres of farmland with surface water rights, protecting nearby military operations, and protection of water recharge areas, and to approve 93T DRs for the properties.
Mr. Chairman, make a second motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Randy. You got the next one, too. First reading, consideration of possible action, Bill 2025-A, Ordinance 32, an ordinance amending Title 16 of the Churchill County Code to establish the I-1, I-2, and I-3 zoning districts, deleting the I zoning district, redefining the zoning and design review process, establishing zoning requirements for existing and additional industrial land use, clarifying the requirements for power generation facilities, and other matters related thereto. Randy?
Again, thank you, Mr. Chair. Randy Hines for the record. Our department started this task of these industrial zone changes back in March. We held 2 joint workshops with both the Planning Commission and of course you guys on April 22nd and June 24th. And it was presented to the proposed changes have been presented to the Planning Commission at the August 13th meeting. You have the bill with the changes in the agenda. And I'm just going to kind of go over some of the highlights of what was changed in those areas. So first, we assigned names for each of the industrial zones. So we called the I-1 we called that commercial industrial because, again, essentially that's kind of closer to our commercially zoned parcels, right? I-2 we just kept as industrial, and then I-3 we put as heavy industrial. So before we just had I-1, I-2, I-3, we actually assigned a name to each one of them. Section 1608-250 is the use table for all the zoning districts. So we deleted the original table, the entire table, and you'll see that in the packet, and we replaced it with the new table that includes the three new zones. We revised the table to indicate what uses are allowed with an SUP, or prohibited in the new industrial zones. And we also removed the administrative special use permit and grouped it with the conditional zoning permit. So it just kind of took one of those additional permits out of there and combined it with another one. We added section 16.08.065 for our current zoning reviews. We did not have that in our code, we don't have it in our code today, so we've added that section. And basically, that outlines the procedures for our zoning reviews. We added 1608.075 for our conditional zoning permit. So this is a new permit that we are adding for allowed uses that and maybe Joe can help me out here if I stumble, but they're allowed uses in each zone But instead of doing an SUP, because they're an allowed use, they still have to go through a process, and we'll explain the conditional zoning permit later, but we're adding this conditional zoning permit to our code, but it's a new permit that, I guess,
I'll describe it
Yes.
as,
Thanks,
this is
Joe.
for allowed uses that still need conditions to ensure compatibility with neighboring properties.
I forgot that from last meeting, so thanks, Joe. So again, that use is added. We made some minor edits to section 1608080 for the special use permits. Again, just minor tweaks to that. As we were reading through it, we found some things we needed to change. We added 1608085 for conditional use permits. So we don't currently have this in our code as it sits today. Through all the research and changes that we've performed through these proposed changes, we had found out that NRS actually requires for highly hazardous materials that we do a conditional use permit. That conditional use permit has more notifications, just has more requirements for that permit. So because we were making these changes, we felt that we needed to add this because that's a state requirement that we have it. So we have that. We revised section 1624010 for the definitions, and this was kind of to add clarity to our uses, right? We through all the research and the work staff has done, we found out that some of our definitions really didn't meet what the use, didn't really define the use that we have in there. So some of those have been updated, and then we actually added more definitions for the more specifically for the uses that we added to our table, right? I think we added 4 more uses in there, so we added definitions in there. So it really defines what uses, what the use actually is. We revised section 1616030 for the renewable energy facility. We changed the renewable energy facility to power generation facility because we grouped both renewable energy and fuel-based or any other energy production. And then the power generation facilities are classified by the source of the power generated, being include fuel-based resources, including generators and renewable resources. So again, we've combined them both into that section. So those are kind of the highlights that we did on the changes of the code. Before I go into, we did have a letter from SPB requesting some additional changes to the code. Before I get in there, I can answer any questions on what we presented.
Any questions so far for Randy?
I have one question so far. What's going to be the difference between a conditional use permit and a special use permit?
Yeah, so I'll break down a special use permit. So the special use permit, we require a pre-application meeting to discuss the project with the applicant, right? Once we've had that meeting, the applicant will prepare the application, and they'll apply for it. They'll submit it online on our online portal. Once we get that application and we deem that it's complete, notices will be sent out to the adjacent property owners, notifying them that this proposed project is coming to the area. And that is within a 300-foot radius of the surrounding property, or 30 unique owners, whichever is greater. So if you're out in the middle of the desert and you've got large sections of land, you may have to notify, you may have to go out 1,000 foot or 1,500 feet to get those 30 unique owners. So we're either 300 feet or 30 unique owners, whichever one. Any comments received will be reviewed by staff and presented to the Planning Commission with the packet. This application will be reviewed by staff to ensure the project is consistent with the requirements of Title 16, Churchill County Code, which include but not limited to, if the project is compatible with existing surrounding land uses and development, is it in substantial conformance with the master plan, and will be constructed and operated in full compliance with county code. The project will not overburden public services and infrastructure. The project will not adequately mitigates road and traffic impacts during construction and operation, and does not create adverse environmental impacts, including but not limited to noise, glare, fumes, and odor. So each application goes through, we investigate all those, right, review all those, make sure that they're in compliance with those. Based on the complexity of the project, we may have third-party review. So we could send it out to some engineers for review, or specialists that specialize in certain, say, glare. Like we'll send it to somebody to look at the glare study. The application will be heard at a scheduled planning commission meeting with the applicant, and a decision will be made by the planning commission. Staff typically prepares conditions of approval for the planning commission, but the planning commission they may require additional conditions, or they may apply additional conditions on that application. So that's kind of a breakdown of the special use permit. The conditional zoning permit basically follows the same function. So again, we'll have a pre-application meeting. The applicant will submit the application online. Notices will be sent at the same requirements as a special use permit. So again, 300-foot radius from the property or 30 unique owners. Any of those any comments received will be reviewed by staff. The applicant will be reviewed by staff to ensure the project is consistent with Title 16 of Churchill County Code, and I won't read all those again, but we look at everything that we do for the special use permit. Again, based on the complexity of the project, the third-party review may be required. And this is what's different. Based on the findings, a decision will be made by the director. So staff will prepare reasonable conditions of approval for the project based on the project review. So really, same process. It's just whether it goes in front of the planning commission or it's a decision made by the director. So.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we did receive a letter from SB Energy, and I've got a couple paragraphs in here. This is in regards of solar power, major solar power generation. So as it sits today, major solar, or as presented, major solar power generation is a special use permit in zones I1, I2, I3, and RR20, of course. So SB Energy is a renewable energy developer committed to advance in a portfolio of energy solutions. We respectfully urge the Churchill County Staff and Planning Commission to designate major power generation projects such as our proposed 40-mile desert or 40-mile north solar project. And this is a project they're proposing up there along the I-80 corridor, just south of Sierra Solar Project, as subject to a zoning review rather than requiring a special use permit in the I-2 and the I-3 heavy industrial zones. So what they're asking is to be a conditional zoning permit in the I-2s and I-3s. Before I move on, currently their parcels that they have up there are RR20, so that would again require a special use permit. They also add that the current industrial zone framework, as noted on page 4, highlights the diverse range of industrial activities from concrete plants to battery testing facilities, each requiring individual review. Unlike many of these extensive uses, utility scale solar and battery storage facilities such as 40 Mile North Solar Project are low impact, non-disruptive, and environmentally benign, making them well suited for streamlined zoning reviews. As outlined on page 11, the zoning review ensures projects are constructed and operated in a manner that does not overburden public services, mitigates road and traffic impacts, and avoids or mitigates adverse environmental effects such as noise, glare, fumes, and odors. Solar projects inherently meet these standards. They generate minimal noise, are secured by perimeter fencing, and pose no risk to fuel spillage, explosions, or chemical hazards, unlike some of the more extensive uses permitted in the I-3, and that's page 4. Furthermore, utility scale solar technology relies on anti-reflective technology to greatly reduce glint and glare associated with some smaller installations. So additionally, they say they additionally respect the request clarification of the half-mile setback from highway reference in the zoning framework, and request that Churchill County Code 1616-020.2 for the half-mile setback from the highways. So currently it sits that we have that half-mile setback for explosive uses or brothels, or there's 2 other things in there that aren't allowed within a half mile of the highway corridors. That note was added along the renewable energy, along solar. So we essentially took that off. They were concerned that they wouldn't be able to put anything in that half mile setback, and really it's for limited uses. So with that being said, we presented that to the planning commission. We talked about it. They, proposed that, they proposed to you guys that those would be a conditional zoning permit in I-1, I-2. They kind of agreed with what these guys were saying, because they're kind of, again, it's a low impact use. We just approved one, the 5 square miles of solar out there on the Sierra Solar project, which is again just north of this project. So again, that was the proposal from the planning commission to you guys. So with that, we can discuss anything about that.
Any questions or comments on the letter from SB Energy? Okay,
I don't know if I want to discuss the letter, but the conditional use permit,
Conditional zoning permit, yeah.
Sorry.
That's
zoning
okay.
permit. We develop these industrial zones so we can progress into the future and make it inviting for businesses to come here. So then here we go with an I-1, I-2, and I-3, and a lot of them have, special use permits still required. Does the staff have any thoughts on like especially the I-3 zone to make those conditional on most of the items that are in I-3? Just let that be a conditional use permit instead of it still being a special use permit? That would be, it's like a 10-part question, right? It's like,
Yeah,
if we develop these zones and we want to attract people here, this chart could still turn them off if they see that they have to go through a special use permit. Whenever the conditional use permit, as you stated, pretty much has the same ramifications to do business here. And then our qualified staff is able to determine if it needs to go above their level. So, I feel comfortable if we could, how does the other commissioners feel about the I-3 area? Do we really set on having to have a special use permit for all this stuff? Or can we get a conditional on those and change it in the chart?
if it's I-3, I personally would like to see it stay as an SUP.
Okay. I'm just thinking that, we made the chart and we didn't accomplish anything because everything is already an SUP. Everything already else, it's already an SUP. So then we make a chart. It's a nice, big, beautiful chart, but it's still, having to do an SUP. I didn't know that what did we accomplish? I guess that would be a question I have.
There are some things, again, in the I-3. Pam, could you pull up the code, the bill ordinance on that and go to scroll down to the proposed table? I just want to kind of take a look at it and
And
see.
I'm mainly talking about I-3.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
I-2 can still touch the highway, so we have to be cautious there.
For sure.
But I-3 is, supposedly I-3s are all, way out there, so
Scroll down.
it doesn't matter.
Keep going. It's right, keep going. Right there, that's good. So, as you can see here, these are industrial uses, and the C is actually the conditional zoning permit, right? That's the one where we have the approved uses and we make them a conditional zoning for it rather than an SUP. So in the industrial zone, we've got a C, and then we have an S, and that's hazardous materials. And we're assuming that we're keeping that at S because, again, it's hazardous materials. That could roll into a conditional use permit, depending on what materials they're using. You know what I mean? So if they're using something that's on the list, on the NRS list of highly hazardous materials, that's not going to be an SUP. It's going to roll into a conditional use permit. Again, more restrictions on that permit. And then you go down and we're C, and then S. We have, again, hazardous chemical manufacturing or storage. Same thing, we're dealing with hazardous materials. We kept that a special use permit in the I-3, and that could roll into a conditional use permit if necessary. And then we have a C, and then we've got S for explosives. Again, we wanted to keep that an S. Can you scroll down a little bit more, Pam? And then we have a C and a C. So in the industrial uses, you can see that what we're trying to work on here with having our 3 zones. We do have all but 3 of those being a conditional use permit. I'm sorry, a conditional zoning permit. So they get an administrative review. If you scroll down to the energy production, that's, I think, down at the way bottom of this table, Pam. This is where we didn't make many changes because we presented it to the planning commission. Keep going. I'll keep going. It's going to be at the very end, I think, of all of this. We got a lot of commercial stuff in there. Oh, go back up. Okay, that's good. So this is the energy production, right? And the way energy production is broken out is we have private power generation, which would be solar panels on people's houses, residences, right? We have minor power generation, which is 500 kilowatts or less. Those are more, say, generators for hospitals or emergency rooms or clinics or the Church County building, right? Those would be minor power generation. And the major power generation, again, we group that to be renewable and fuel-based. We kept this as an SUP throughout the way, throughout each zone, because that was, I think, during the discussions of the workshop, that was kind of what we had discussed. There are a lot of things that go along with the major power generation, and because we've grouped renewable and fuel, we kept it an SUP because you have different energy productions in the same grouping, right? So if we wanted to split out the solar, which SB is proposing, we would add another line that says solar power, major solar power generation, and we would discuss it. And if you guys agree, we would have an S and R20, an S and A10, maybe an S and I1. And if it was their proposal, it would be a C and I2 and I3. So we would add that line item below that. We did have, I think, an iteration in our second workshop where we actually had 2 energy production. We had fuel-based, and then we split out the renewable energy. So we had 2, and then going back through our code, we figured it was just easier for us to change our code to be, oh, I can't remember what it was, to change the code to be, change it from renewable, we changed it from renewable energy facility to power generation facility and grouped everything together. Hence why everything's an S. So what we've done is in the industrial uses, we've accomplished what we're accomplishing. We're having more conditional zoning permits in those uses. It's just we did not achieve it here because we've grouped everything into one. Not saying that this is how it needs to go. We can always make those changes for the final one in 2 weeks, but as it sits today, it's grouped into the one section. So that's a long explanation. I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Well, I understand that, and then I just feel like that, once again, I'm going to say it one more time, is, you know, we've been restricting businesses for several years, and we do this, and then we're still restricting them, so there's no party, right?
Yeah.
And then I think as the planning commission approved it the last time to move it here, they said that they wanted to create another line and pull out the solar.
That is correct.
That's how they approved it?
That is correct, was to have just solar power generation be its own line with its designations as a C in I2s and I3s. A lot of that comes from, you know, we just had the Sierra Solar project a little over a year ago go through the, it came through you guys for road abandonments. It went through the planning commission. We got it reviewed in a month. We had it presented to the planning commission. It was approved in a month. Again, because there's a lot to it. It's big. I think about the only thing it's just solar power is just big, takes a lot of land, and you see a lot of solar panels out there. But the use is really, like these guys stated, it's pretty benign. So that's why they're proposing to have it as a conditional zoning permit in the I2 and I3 zones.
So do we need to like agree that they're going to break it out, or do we need to deny that part of their proposal to us if we choose to?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Blakey, If you would give us guidance as to what you would like to see for the final approval, we will make that change and have it prepared for that approval in 2 weeks. We didn't want to make the change and then come here and have you say, well, we disagree, and go back and do it again. So whatever guidance you'd like to give us as to how you would like it to be finally approved, that is how it will be drafted and how it will be prepared for you for final approval.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could say one more thing. When you guys discuss this, and again, when you ask any questions you like, you remember that these guys, their property is zoned R20 as it sits today. So you wouldn't even see it on the zoning map I gave you because they're R20. If this is approved, I would assume that they would come in for a zone change and change those to be I3. They do run along the I-80 corridor. If you do approve this change, we do have I2 and I3 parcels along 50 coming into town and on 95 coming into town. So again, just keep that in mind, right? If this is a change that you guys are in favor of, we could potentially have solar panels in Hazen. We do have some solar panels in Hazen's up on the hill, but you could have them right along the highway. Also, you could have them along the highway on 95 coming into town. Again, I think, and we've discussed it internally, I think 80 is a different animal than 95, and 95 is a different animal than 50, right? I think we get the majority of our traffic on 50 and not necessarily on 80 and 95, but we do get traffic. So again, if you do approve that, just keep that in mind that it could potentially be solar panels in Hazen, if that's, just so you know.
I personally like to keep solar inside of the major power generation one and keep it all special use permits personally. And that's just for the fact that we're able to limit where we can put that. No one wants to be driving along, and we all say solar is benign. Solar is not really benign. I mean, it takes thousands of acres for power generation. I don't want this whole entire valley spread across with solar panels. I mean, if that's the case, then solar companies might start buying farms and putting in solar panels on top of the farms with the new legislative bill for agrivoltaics. So I personally want to see it kept just in one lot, and it all requires special use permits.
I agree. And I will say that the I3, with the special use permit, my intention would be, if we're going to have hazardous materials, I'd just as soon see more eyes on that than not.
And if you look at that chart too, the other thing about that I3 is that there already is quite a few
Right.
C's, and there's just some S's that are, I think, for the safety of our community, so the public can have input on it, and we can kind of actually know what's going on. It's not just the staff doing that, which I trust our staff 100%, but it opens up the process a lot more.
And I feel like this has done a lot for people coming in wanting to develop, just looking at this, hey, this is where my project fits, this is where it doesn't fit. So I think it's done a lot for that.
It's definitely cleaned it up, and it's, a lot of the stuff that was required special use permit never really needed a special use permit to begin with. So that's where a lot of your Cs come from already. It's a tough position to be in. Like we made the chart, it's great, whatever. But if we're still restricting people, there's definitely no party being over here. So, but I understand your feelings. I understand how you guys want to go, and I definitely don't want to be the odd man out. So.
Did that offer enough clarity? So are we in agreement? So we'll keep solar and major power generation? Correct?
Correct. That's the easiest one for me. It'll be exactly the way it's presented today.
Okay. And then, I guess that takes care of it then, right? Any other questions, comments? Do you have anything else, Randy?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this? Okay, seeing no public comment. Can I get a motion for this agenda item, please?
Chair Ghetto, I would move to set a public hearing on this ordinance for September 17th.
I'll go ahead and second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Randy. We'll jump to 7E, consideration of possible action, application for community support funding for the Fallon Community Theater in the amount of $3,000 to support Main Street Spooktacular event on September 31st, 2025. Is there anyone here to speak on this? I do not see Jessica. So, yeah, if you can, Alexa, that'd be great.
Alexa Robinson for the record. This is just that we do it every year and we have been donating to them each year, so this isn't like a new thing. The only thing that's changed is the same as the kind of the last one, the reduction in the total amount that we can award based on the percentage we had to reduce of the overall. This is a miscellaneous account. It's not a dedicated amount, so they requested $3,000. Based on the amount we had to reduce the overall budget, we reduced that amount to the $1,307.49. I do personally strongly support, it's one of the biggest events that we have all year, the Spooktacular. It's huge. I went last year. It's humongous. So the support we can give them, I'm in favor. It's just as big as the Christmas tree lighting almost, as many people show up. So there's nobody here, but but I personally find it fantastic, and I hope that we do support them.
Okay, thank you, Alexa. Any questions or comment from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve funding in the amount of $1,307.49 to support the Fallon Community Theater's Main Street Spectacular event on October 31st, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Alexa. And we'll go ahead and get a picture. Yep. Okay, we'll jump to 7F, presentation of the Serve Well project completed at the Social Services William N. Pennington Life Center to evaluate food waste and recommendations for cost savings. Shannon?
Again, for the record, Shannon Ernst, Churchill County Social Services. Early in 2025, an ADSD contacted us and asked if we would participate within this pilot project. They really wanted to see how life centers, senior centers could reduce food waste and reduce their costs. And so we were chosen to participate, which was very exciting. Through this time, it's a 30-day period where you have pans. When people go up, we evaluate the cost of the meal. Then it is served to the individuals in the dining room, and they come up and we have volunteers scrape off the waste off those plates. And that is our plate waste. And then we have, at the end of our shifts, what was left in the pans, they call that pan waste. So as part of this report, you can see the numbers are pretty high when it shows our pan waste. But we have been talking to the company because there is a concern in the fact our pan waste, we don't actually throw it out. If it is a hot meal, then we actually tray it, we freeze it, and we use it for weekends and holidays. And that is how we're able to serve our population 7 days a week. So looking at this with a total cost of waste of $26,000, I don't believe that is truly accurate. We did find it very valuable because we could identify what our seniors like to eat and what they don't like to eat based off of what is scraped off of those plates. And that is true waste. It was also evaluated at our average contribution of being $2 per meal. This is something that we get reimbursed in the dining room, $3.40 from ADSD through our grant, and then $3.80 when we go out for our Meals on Wheels. So when you look at our cost per meal at $6.18, there's a huge gap, and that is the part that our senior tax levy is paying for in that area. So we have, through our recommendations, and I don't know if you can pull those up, or I can just read through them. We went through each one of the recommendations that was provided by Servewell. One of them was looking really at having a reservation system. They believe if you have a reservation from seniors, it should be the very last, sorry, Pam. That's okay, I didn't think we should go through it page by page. The reservation system would allow seniors to reserve a spot, and then they use that spot. This is a concern to us. Our seniors are not going to make a reservation. We have a lot of individuals that drop in, and so this was something we do not feel that we should implement. We do feel that we need to bring to the attention to our seniors the cost of the meals. That is a huge piece. Last meeting, you did approve us to buy the new ceiling system. That will reduce part of that cost because how much our trays were for Meals on Wheels. So we're always looking at that. We're also, with our new chef, we're evaluating how do we get down per meal to $5 or less. That is the target amount within a Life Center operation. So we are a little high. We really want to get rid of the language of the suggested donation of $3. 2 years, last year, 2 years ago, no, it was 2 years ago, I brought before you really talking about what other senior centers are proposing as their suggested donation. It was not supported by the commission to raise that amount, and I agree. But letting them know how much it does cost us and using the language, give what you can, when you can, is something that we're going to implement. We really want to provide a statement showing the number of meals to our residents, how much they get, and what that cost was. It's building that awareness. And then really implementing, we call it Turkey Talk, and it's bringing our seniors around the table with our Life Center manager and also our chef to talk about what they would like to see more, how that kind of went away the last couple of months because we've been so short-staffed. So we're going to re-implement that this fall. So as you can see, this was a great project. It was something new for this community, and there's a lot of things we want to commit to move forward. And so I wanted to present this to you today. As part of us doing this, I requested that after we implement this, I would like them to come back 6 months later and see how these strategies putting into place affected our outcomes so that we can reduce those costs. So if there's any questions, I can answer.
Thank you, Shannon. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
I would just say I agree that I don't really like the reservation. I just don't think that's going to work out well, so I hope we don't want to go down that route.
Agreed.
We don't want to turn anybody away
No,
for that reason.
it's open. If you don't have a meal, you come in. You want to come socialize, please come in.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? If not, a motion, please.
There is no, it's information.
No, it's information only.
It's just information only.
Thank you, Shannon. Okay, we'll jump to 7G, consideration of possible action, ratification of an agreement between the State of Nevada Department of Human Services and Churchill County Social Services in the amount of $100,000 to provide support services for individuals that report being in crisis to access mainstream resources that support independent living. Shannon?
For the record, Shannon Ernst, Churchill County Social Services. 2 years ago, we were actually provided Fund for Health in Nevada funds to look at expansion of transportation to fill gaps with CART. Also expand our outreach to seniors that are having a crisis situation, wrap services around them to reduce that situation. And then the last piece was to really provide group counseling sessions, grief loss, at the Life Center. That was a 2-year non-competitive. It was actually kind of a pilot we did to show what you could do with these flexible funds with the state. It was extremely successful. So this year they've provided us $100,000 to maintain that program. After that, we will have to go into the competitive process to receive this. This is a reduction of $20,000, but it does support 100% of our GAP transportation program. It supports those group counseling sessions and then offsets some of our costs for the resource liaisons. Any questions?
Thank you, Shannon. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Chair Ghetto, I move to approve and ratify the agreement for the grant funding as presented.
Second the motion?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Appointment H, consideration and possible action, approval of the transition plan for the Churchill Area Regional Transportation CART to Churchill County effective October 1st, 2025, as well as revised job descriptions and the operation plan. Shannon?
Again, for the record, Shannon Ernst, Churchill County Social Services. In March, the board here approved for Churchill County to apply to NDOT for FDA funds to absorb the CART program at a request by the Churchill Area Regional Transportation Board of Directors. So those grants were submitted. We have been waiting all this time to hear if they're awarded to bring forward options on how we move forward to absorb those programs. Finally, we received notification on August 4th. It was a long wait. And so what we have been doing is working on the policies and procedures because this has to be absorbed October 1, 2025. That is a short time. So the policies and procedures have been being created. In that creation, we did it in two different ways. One, as a standalone department within Churchill County, or as under social services, under the Aging and Disabilities Division area, which is at the Life Center. Through that award, we were funded 100% over 2 years on the condition that FDA signed off on the state award. Yesterday, we received notification that they have signed off for that 2 years. So there is full funding, along with ADSD provides a piece of this. It's very small, $40,000 to help serve the Reno trip that they would provide once a week. So full funding has been received for this project. Now is the hard part. Really looking at how the board desires to move forward with the absorption of CART and making sure that it's implemented October 1 of this year. So I have provided kind of a transition within that board report, giving you some options. Concept 1 is really where you do have it standalone, where it looks like the Life Center, the museum and the library. So you have it placed, it could be at Drum, once that building is revamped, when we receive that award, which we've been pending for 2 years. It is there, we just need to go into contracting. But that would require you to have a minimum of 2 dispatchers, office specialists, 5 transportation specialists, and 2 casual transportation specialists. The budget will support that. It is a little bit higher cost with your personnel because now you have a director manager with that oversight, and they are full employees there, if that makes sense. Concept 2 before you is really combining CART with Churchill County Social Services. The problem with this is it is such a short time frame. What we had proposed previously is if this came under social services, we would combine all of our transportation together, which means also our Meals on Wheels drivers. So now we're offering full-time positions with better benefits, which opens up getting more individuals to apply and wanting to stay within the positions. We have extreme high turnover because they are part-time positions and lower wages. But it's also more cost-effective because we're not just paying somebody's health insurance. For several people, we're actually giving that benefit package and reducing our overall number of staff. So I cannot get Meals on Wheels and CART drivers all trained by October 1. The concern is it would be very rushed. It would weaken our overall operations at the Life Center. So I am proposing if you decide to go with Concept 2, effective 1, I would request the board approve me to maintain as a casual employee a part-time manager that is there, the 2 dispatchers, and the 3 drivers. These would be casual positions, part-time. That is what they're working now. Then we would go through the whole process of training, implementation of everything by January 1 or prior. And I would bring before you within the next 60 days exactly what that looks like with those. It's not increasing staffing. It is really taking in training both on each side, if that makes sense. I have a dispatcher project coordinator that is overseeing Meals on Wheels, Homemaker. That is like a dispatch. That would come in and it would be now dispatch for Meals on Wheels. That would be dispatch for Homemaker and for CART. This would go under our Life Center manager, but you'd be looking at the drivers being cross-trained. So if they were full-time in the morning, they would drive Meals on Wheels, CART in the afternoon. CART, you would have 2 that were full-time all day so that we could meet those needs. But we need to come up with a timeline for those, and I'm sorry, with this short notice of the award, I do not have that for you today. If there's any questions, I can answer.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
I do. I like concept 2. I know it's going to be a time, but I think that's where we need to get to. And I believe if we went with concept 1, we'd be fighting to get to concept 2 down the road, so I would just as soon start there.
And if we gave you the resources that you need for concept 2 to make the transition in a, in a comfortable time, is that achievable to you?
It is. I just do ask for the time and to be able to have that casual stuff, because I will be honest, we're a little full at this moment. And so I want to make sure and make it clean. I do not want it to feel rushed and make everything where my operations at the Life Center are more burdened. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't want to break something that's working.
I just
So,
feel like
yes.
that we're going to incur a lot more cost if we go with concept 1 over time. And if we can implement it into your program and then make it work, and even if down the road we had to get 2 or 3 more people, I think it'd still be less cost effective that way.
And I will be honest, I have looked at every possible way to try to support you going with concept 1, and I cannot find one. But I wanted to provide it for you.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement for concept 2 for CART. With that, is there any public comment? If not, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve option 2. I'm assume concept 2 is option 2. Option 2 as presented.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
8, consent items. Did anyone want to pull either one of them off the consent agenda? If not, a motion to approve those.
Chair Ghetto, I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Does anyone have anything they want to consider for a future agenda item? If not, we'll move to Commissioner and Management Staff reports. We'll start with you, Commissioner Hyde. I have nothing at this time. Commissioner Blakey?
Attended a Rural Residency Steering Committee meeting at Banner, and they got awarded the grants they needed to move forward with the residency program here in Churchill County, so that's pretty awesome news. There is a celebration of National Rural Health Day 2025, will be the 3rd Thursday in November, and our own Dr. Ted McDonald will be receiving the 2025 Community Star Award. So I thank him for his service to our community, and it'll be a good event. I think you can get tickets on Eventbrite for that. Attended a museum meeting, and then CAPS is having their spaghetti feed this Saturday at the Convention Center. That's all I have.
Thank you. Sherry?
I have nothing, thank you.
Joe?
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Chris?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Linda?
Just been busy in our office, and we're still shorthanded, but the gals that are in there are just, I'll say, kicking butt, but because they really are, and I really appreciate them. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
Pam? Mr. Mallory?
There we go. The Civil Division has moved into its new location, and we're in the process of decorating it, or at least making it appear to be a professional office, which we're still working on, but the space is much more functional than it was before, and we appreciate that. And we think we'll have room for everyone as it is, just a matter of getting it properly organized and spruced up, I guess you would say. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Claims and payroll are going around. At this time, this is the last spot for public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.